Just one game remains. Notre Dame Fighting Irish, Ohio State Buckeyes, the College Football National Championship. The headlines, we're going to be talking about Marcus Freeman, we're going to talk about Ryan Day, we're going to talk about quarterbacks all week long, talking Riley Leonard, Will Howard, all the pass catchers, Jeremiah Love, and everyone in between. But folks, I want to talk about a potential unsung hero in this championship game for Notre Dame. Let's talk about the ever importance of Charles Jagusah and his return. Ryan Roberts from A to Z Sports breaking down everything Notre Dame football as they get ready to take on the Ohio State Buckeyes for hopefully the first championship since 1988. Their first, obviously, championship appearance, national championship appearance since 2012. Hopefully it's a lot better of an outcome this time, but we'll have you all contented up from here to game time and beyond afterwards and everything in between. You all know the drill here, but I want to talk about not the quarterbacks today. Don't want to talk about the pass catcher. Don't want to talk about whether Notre Dame's going to run man or zone coverage the majority of the time. I want to talk about a player that has been a blessing for this Notre Dame team and a player that I think actually should alter your opinion on the offensive line heading into the football game for Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Now, of course, we got some terrible news when it was announced on Sunday during head coach Marcus Freeman's press conference that left tackle, true freshman, All-American, Anthony Knapp was lost for the last game with a high ankle sprain. Right guard Rocco Spindler is also questionable for this football game. And at first, full transparency, my emotions were, man, all these injuries. Eventually, it's probably going to add up, and it is going to be the downfall of this Notre Dame team. And a lot of people have been waiting for that downfall of this Notre Dame team. But then when I took a step back and I really just kind of eyed the possibilities, potential lineups, all those things, I actually came out feeling pretty solid about the offensive line room. And this is why. Charles Jagusah, who went into the year and had a upper body injury that sidelined him before the season, just started practicing a couple weeks ago. Before the year, he was projected to be, and not projected, he was going to be your starting left tackle at the University of Notre Dame. Now, when he got hurt, that's where Anthony Knapp came to the forefront. Rocco Spindler, the right guard, who was questionable for this game as well, began starting in the middle of the year as well, off of necessity when you saw Billy Schrauth miss a couple of games, when you saw Sam Pendleton get sidelined or get benched, for the lack of a better term, and you saw Ashton Craig get out for the rest of the year. There was a lot of flux inside on the interior. So you saw Rocco Spindler step up and play admirably and play well in a lot of instances. Now, my first thought here is best case scenario. If Rocco Spindler can play and can be effective, Charles Jagusah moves not from, because here's the thing. We saw him in the second half when he had to come in at Penn State, and he was your best offensive lineman. I don't think it was an accident that your team, who had only scored 3 points in the first half against Penn State, came out and scored 24 points in the second half and 261 total yards when Charles Jagusah was in the football game. Now, if he moves over to left tackle and Rocco Spindler is healthy enough at right guard, I would argue and I would contend that the starting offensive line against Ohio State would be better than it was going into the Penn State game in its entirety. Because essentially all you'd be doing is swapping out now healthy Charles Jagusah for Anthony Knapp. And while Anthony Knapp has played really well for the most part as a true freshman for what he was given the opportunity to do and the situation he was put in, I do think right now Charles Jagusah over Anthony Knapp for me. As a talent, as a football player, I would take him. So I think that your offensive line would actually improve in that instance. Now, if it's the other scenario where if Rocco Spindler can't play, I think that the offensive line that you would see is Charles Jagusah at right guard, Tosh Baker at left tackle. And now my question would be for that one is, Charles Jagusah is an upgrade over Rocco Spindler, and I think a pretty significant upgrade. Now, while Tosh Baker is not as good as Anthony Knapp, more than likely, and that would be a downgrade, I still think that the upgrade that you have at right guard is enough for me to still say that I think that that offensive line is still better than what it was to start the Penn State game. So although your margin for error has decreased because now you have less healthy offensive linemen, and a lot of people want to freak out about it, I think if you have either Charles Jagusah starting at right guard or left tackle, and you're able to play the entirety of the football game with this starting five, I just think this offensive line is better than what it has been the last couple of days. At least more talented, and I think higher upside against a really talented Ohio State front four, and you're going to need them. Going up against guys like Tyleik Williams, JT Tuimoloau, Jack Sawyer, Ty Hamilton, like they are a very formidable front four, and Notre Dame is going to need them. And I think if Notre Dame wins this football game, the unsung hero will be at the end, because we're going to talk about Riley Leonard, we're going to talk about Jeremiah Love, and everybody else that could have a big impact in the football game. I think an unsung hero in a victory could end up being Charles Jagusah. Folks, subscribe to the channel, check out A to Z Sports, and we'll get you ready for this game and beyond. Thank you all, as always, for tuning in, and go Irish.